2, 1. And now another album review for On Beat Off Script. We're jumping into Send a Prayer My Way by Julien Baker and TORRES. Julien Baker kind of a pretty big up-and-comer, and TORRES I've seen all over the scene the last little bit. TORRES has been kind of guest appearing on so many of the albums I've been listening to for the as I'm getting caught up. So it really felt like there was going to be a drop at some time pretty quickly, but the way that this one happened was kind of unorthodox, and I love the way that they kind of came together to bring this piece. Who are they? Julien Baker is an American indie rocker out of Tennessee. Again, gaining a ton of traction lately. And when it comes to rock indie folk scenes that have been happening recently, it's hard to miss the name Julien Baker. She started out in 2015 with her solo album Sprained Ankle while attending university, and that actually kind of got some instant critical acclaim. Then she released a sophomore album, Turn Out the Lights, in 2017, and Little Oblivions in 2021, just slowly making her way kind of up the ladder until the latter of the 3 albums actually ended up charting in the top 40 on the Billboard's Top 200, something that's not easy to do in the indie punk kind of scene, punk folk kind of scene. Her biggest movement for sure was joining alongside Phoebe Bridgers and Lucy Dacus, both acclaimed indie artists in their own right, to form Boy Genius in 2018, and releasing 2 albums and an EP, which really kind of put them at the center of indie folk. Again, if you know in the indie folk world, you know who Phoebe Bridgers is, you know who Boy Genius is. That kind of really put them on the map. They are the center of the indie folk world. With The Record, which came out, the group's debut album, which received 7 Grammy nominations and scooped up 3 of them, which is obviously a pretty impressive thing, again, for an indie folk album to be able to accomplish. After working with artist TORRES at a few shows in New York in 2024, they kind of started working together on some collaborative stuff, and have kind of been billed as a duo in a lot of shows the last little bit, so it felt like this was a project that was just going to happen. How it happened and when it was going to happen was just a matter of time. Obviously, Julien and TORRES just really hit it off, and they were like, well, Boy Genius, are they disbanded yet? They kind of said that they were done, but
I feel like they might come back.
I feel like they will
they
too.
took a long break between their first album and the record too, didn't they? I feel like it was a few years. So I feel like they'll kind of do their own solo thing and eventually come back together.
And sounds like Julien doesn't really have any intentions of doing a solo thing now, just kind of grouping up with TORRES now instead. But who is TORRES? TORRES is an indie rocker out of Florida who's been doing it a bit longer than Baker, debuting in 2012. She's been really busy too. She's dropped 6 albums in the last 12 years. The first being TORRES in 2013 to pretty decent acclaim, and the following 2 albums kind of being similarly acclaimed on that side of thing. TORRES has related a lot of her music to, Americana folk styles of Brandi Carlile, Fleetwood Mac, that kind of style, where Julien has cited a wider array of influences, kind of being from My Chemical Romance to Death Cab for Cutie, a lot more which is weird when you're talking about, a folk kind of indie rock artist being well, my biggest influences are My Chemical Romance. Just kind of casting a wider net and pulling a lot of really cool influences from all of them.
Yeah.
Both of them are members of the LGBTQ communities, so they both have a tendency to explore some themes of religion, love, family life as a queer person, and a lot of their work, showing a lot of deep struggle on a lot of their projects, which I think is important to make sure that you note on this side of things. It made them a pretty easy duo to get together, right? They had similar backstories, similar experiences, a similar style, and just obviously they met up working together in New York and have continued to just kind of do show by show with them together. There's a lot of billings have said it's Julien Baker and TORRES. It's not one of them. It's not both of them individually going to the same concert. They're going on stage together to work together, which I think is really cool. But when they got together for this project specifically, they really wanted to talk about the same things that they always do, but they really wanted to come at it from a completely different angle, shifting over to, who would have guessed, country as their medium that they wanted to kind of talk about these ideas, which again, talking about being LGBTQ in the country sphere is something that doesn't get talked about a whole lot. So I think that's kind of where they wanted to, like, let's take this from a different angle, from an angle that doesn't generally see that kind of that kind of part of life, you know? Yeah. And so they ended up going together. It's actually really funny that Torres specifically said, I didn't think Julien was going to agree to this. She just kind of threw it out there and was just like, hey, what about, like, what if we did, like, a country album? And was like, she's like, I was kind of hoping that Julien would say yes to it, but I was also kind of, like, throwing it out there as, like, but if you don't, then, haha, it was just a joke. You're cool. And Julien, like, instantly replied and was just like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Like, I'm completely on board with it. And, so we end up with the project Send a Prayer My Way. And we're going to dive into it here. But before we do that, Bob, Mel, do you have anything that you wanted to add before we dive into this puppy?
Not in particular. Country is not a huge thing. I don't like country that much. I really don't.
That was a roundabout way to get there.
I was trying to think of a better way to say that, but I just don't like it that much. I can handle folk country. There's some folk country songs I really like. Country, I think this delves into a lot of twangy country, but I think that lyrically there's a lot of good things happening here, and I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah. Mal?
I loved that this album gave me a vibe that we're just a group of friends sitting around a little fire jamming, and we're just, like, trauma bonding and swapping stories. Like, it's one of my favorite things, man. I love
Turns
a little
out.
trauma bond. So I was instantly hooked. Also, Julien Baker is just she's like, her lyricism makes me so incredibly happy, even though it's very, very sad. But I love it. It was everything I hoped for as far as lyrics, lyrics go.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Bob, you said you weren't a big fan of country, so this opening track, I'm sure, probably did help you out. They talked about a theme that doesn't usually get talked about in a lot of country songs, dirt. So, without further ado,
dirt it out.
Sometimes it makes me feel better. Sometimes it makes me feel worse. Used to think that it was magic. Now I'm sure that it's a curse. Spend your whole life getting clean, just to wind up in the dirt. Got a shortcut into paradise. It's killing me, but I still gotta try to get there first.
Mel, are you gonna cry?
No, I'm
okay.
I'm
You
good.
you had the glassy eye look there.
I
was
get
just
like
like,
that.
oh,
I
it's
get like that.
happening.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is a pretty sad album, but I'm not gonna cry. It's not like Bon Iver's pulling out my heart, because that was rough. That was rough, man. I loved it so much, but God, it was brutal.
Well, do you want to tell us how you felt about Dirt?
Yeah. So I really loved the extended clean. She sounded so sweet there. I loved it so much. This is probably one of the only times, though, on this entire album where I don't like when Torres chimes in. I thought she was kind of almost jarring in the opening verse. But I loved her on the second verse, and then I felt like they quickly got their shit together later on, so I was kind of okay with it. I loved the string addition in the chorus, and I thought it was really sweet. I think I saw somewhere that they started working on this like back in 2019, and Julien had just recently relapsed. So this was just such a beautiful way for her to address that.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very, very good start to the album.
Yeah. Bob?
Yeah, I mean, that clip you played really highlighted the very pretty strings throughout this. Very, very slow song. My first listen to it, I was like, this is country, it's twangy. I didn't really give it a chance. This is another album in general where I think the second listen I really dove in, and I think I appreciate a lot of what was going on here. The lyrics in general are pretty good. I like. It feels like winning tickets at the arcade just to trade them in for stuff that you don't want and you don't need. All that you can take never feels like enough. I think is kind of cool. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to like here, honestly.
Yeah, I thought this was a gorgeous song.
Yeah.
I literally wrote that Mel's gonna love this so much.
Yeah, I did.
This is one of the ones. It's country for sure. It is country right on the nose.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
it's right there. But it opens with this very kind of deconstructed country spot with it.
Yeah.
It's not really trying to be anything else, which I think is something that I had an immediate appreciation for. Again, with all this pop people doing country music.
Yeah.
I've been pretty vocal about how I feel about it. So like I think that this kind of really like hit that mark really nicely of just like it's not trying to be Julien Baker and TORRES doing country. It's just country. And
They're
that's
diving right
okay.
in.
I can appreciate that. Again, that's the breath of fresh air that I was kind of hoping for when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
It's very ballady and it's got this really light instrumentation behind it, which makes it just kind of organically really pretty. I do like the fact that they threw in a little bit of organ, which kind of gives it that gospel religious undertones that you kind of come to expect from like Julien specifically, right? She talks about that as part of it. So hearing that kind of gospel-y organ pop in through it shows you're reflecting on the themes that you usually still stick to, but still keeping the sound very much country. And that's something that I could genuinely appreciate a lot about it. I disagree with you. I really liked pretty much all of Julien and TORRES's harmonies on it.
This was the only time that maybe it was just because it was my first time hearing them, that when TORRES was first introduced, I was just like almost like taken aback a little bit.
I
But
think the grittiness of TORRES's voice
she's very husky, and I
works
appreciate
really
that a lot.
well
Yeah.
with how clean and pure Julien's is. It gives it a really cool texture between the two of them. Like, I think I like wrote down somewhere later on, like it's like leather. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of got like that it's got that still rougher kind of feel to it, but smooth. Right?
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good descriptor. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, right. Like and it works. I thought it worked really, really well, especially for like a country track.
Yeah.
Like this is something that you don't get a whole lot of in country. Is this kind of duet scenario where you've got somebody who's a little bit raspier, has a little bit more of that grit to it, on top of something that is so pure and kind of crystalline in the way that it's delivered. So I was a big fan of the track right off the start. And to be honest, we covered Sugar in the Tank in episode 1. I think that was our very first episode. We covered Sugar in the Tank. So this was a really nice opening to an album that I wasn't sure I was going to like very much. If you watch episode 1, listeners at home, you'll understand exactly what my thoughts were on Sugar in the Tank. But we'll also talk about it again today. So listen to both. You know what I mean? But yeah, that takes us over to the only marble I've got left, which I very poetically described as Yeehaw, but slower. And let's give it a listen.
Poetic.
I'll keep your race full of fresh flowers, and I'll meet you eye to eye. I'll love on your parents and never tell a lie. I'll keep the tables turning, and I'll always do my best to hold on tight to the only marble I've got left.
I love how campy this is. It's so playful
It's so
and campy.
campy.
And it's
Super
such a
campy.
vibe, though.
It's real genuine country. You know, they're both from the South, you know. Not that Florida is necessarily known for its country music, but it's not known for its country music either, you know what I mean? So like both being from the South, like this is very I'll always find it a little bit tacky because it's this Dolly Parton style swing country, you know, like it's exactly what you said. Torres's voice cracks in the low range make it hard to take seriously.
I like how they left it, though. Like, they just, like, it was okay, even
It's
with its
fine
flaws.
for what it is, but like this is the almost too yee country for me. This is This is where it starts to border on like, this isn't for me. It's okay, like and the people that love this kind of country, go for it. I love that for you, but just not for me.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, this style's not for me. I think again, lyrically, I like what's being said here. I will say this song even reminds me a bit of like my fiance singing to me. Trent, you guys know the lyrics here. So it won't be a boredom that you'll die because I'll keep the tables turning. I'll always do my best to keep you charmed with the only marble I've got left. I feel like that's Trent talking to me
because
she's a crazy unique gal and like. But she loves with all her heart, and I think that's this song made me think of her, and I was like, oh, I like the song a lot better because of that. Because I was thinking in that regard. But stylistically, the music, I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
I would never in a million years go out of my way for this, like, or for this style of music at all. But I thought them doing it and in such a campy way for their country album was so spot on for
I
what
thought it
they
was
were trying to
satirical
do.
almost.
Exact. It was funny. I like kind of cackled a little.
Yeah,
sure.
It. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, fun. It was just fun.
Yeah, it was. That takes us into Sugar in the Tank, which was the single released for this that we covered, like I said, in episode 1. We're not going to play a clip because you can go hear the clip in episode 1 if you guys want. Go ahead and give that a little check out in the track attack section. Well, I guess we didn't have track attack section back then.
No,
But
that's like our
we've
first
evolved.
episode is like 3 hours long.
yeah,
So have fun sorting through it.
it's a tough one. But it will be in the first part of that 3 hours.
It would
True, it will.
Yes.
Right? See?
Mm-hmm.
We're having this conversation. I think Sugar in the Tank, in my opinion, after listening to the whole album, had their worst vocals. Was one of their worst vocal performances. It's just maybe one of the more upbeat tracks of all of them, so maybe that's why they launched it as a single.
Yeah.
But I think I would have personally been more excited about the album if I had heard Dirt as the single as opposed to Sugar in the Tank. Then this is just because I hadn't gotten through the rest of the album just yet. Like, there's a couple of tracks on here that I absolutely think should have been a single over Sugar in the Tank. So the harmonies just don't hit for me. I think the tones fight a little bit too much on this, and it's not creating the sugar. It's not creating the sugar.
Not creating the sugar.
No.
I'm going to read my notes from the first podcast,
That's awesome.
first episode as this, so because they haven't changed at all. Sounds like something that would play at a wedding. Boring. 5 out of 10. That's what I wrote for this. So
I'm so bad they want to pull up my notes from last time.
yeah,
That's so
I had them ready.
funny. I liked it then. I still like it now.
Yeah.
I thought the wordplay in this one was super, super clever, and I appreciated that a lot. So I do remember, like, again, is it my favorite track off the album? No, far from it. But I definitely did not dislike it the way you guys did.
I do appreciate that because I think you mentioned last time Sugar in the Tank refers to gay love or something like that. I can't remember exactly what that is.
so it's, I'm trying to see, so it's a reference to someone who's gay but not out about it. And then also there's like that idea that sugar in a gas tank will stop the car from running. So I think it's kind of a play on the word where that's not necessarily true. So like being gay doesn't make you not run. It doesn't make you not a good person in the same way as like a sugar won't stop a gas tank or a car from running. So I really, really like appreciated those little nods. I just thought it was very clever.
Yeah.
But that's just Julien and TORRES just like being lyrical geniuses in my opinion.
The strength throughout this entire album is the lyrics for sure, and that plays in there. But again, the music, not great
For sure. Then we get into Bottom of a Bottle. And Bottom of a Bottle, I specifically wrote, I'm going to like this from the mandolin to start as long as the vocals don't mess it up, because we had just had Sugar in the Tank where it did kind of get ruined for me. Mm-hmm. But let's listen.
I'm missing you more every day. I can't keep the wanting you at bay. Not that I've tried to even try. I keep looking for you in your brown eyes.
So, Bob, what do you think?
So this is where the album starts to come together a little bit more for me. I do enjoy this. It's still a little twangy for my liking, but I like the drums in this. I like the again, the lyrics are fantastic. I love that. It's a classic. I drink to make my problems go away kind of song, but I feel like it's done well. And again, the strings kind of elevate what's going on here for sure. I like this in general.
Yeah, as far as like the songwriting goes, I love it when people can keep a chorus similar but still change the lyrics around. Like, it's like one of my favorite things. I love listening for the differences. I love that we have a country song about a woman losing their woman. Like, fucking shout out. I love the shout out to Four Roses. I love a cheap fucking bourbon old fashioned. Four Roses is
great, honestly.
Often in our house. And I just love how husky TORRES is. The huskiness in her voice makes me so happy.
It's a very raw vocal. Like, I specifically wrote that down because I was hoping the vocals don't mess it up. They did not. TORRES, honestly, like I said, the raw vocals I think was fantastic on it, especially on a country track. You don't get that kind of sound very often from a lot of people. The lyricism I thought was fantastic on it. The harmonies went back to what I was really appreciating on Dirt beforehand, so I really appreciated that a lot. It gave me like some Alison Krauss style, which I love Alison Krauss. So like this really like felt like it felt perfectly there, just even in the cadence and the timing. The change up that they introduced in the lyrics as well, and the cadence of how they're delivering it, gave it a lot more of a poetic kind of style to it, as opposed to, your conventional 4/4 time country song. You know what I mean? Where it's you know where you're gonna hit every single rhyme every single time as you go through everything. I thought that they did a really good job of actually kind of mixing that up, so it didn't feel as conventional country or as just kind of a cheap one-off.
Yep.
You know what I mean? For something that could very easily have fallen into kind of a stadium country sound, right?
Yeah.
Like almost instantly. I thought this was a really pretty song, really well put together. I was a big fan.
Yay.
Yeah.
Agreed.
100%. And then we go into some downhill both ways. Something that happens on this podcast. Often. Usually in between.
Usually in between.
When we're actually recording and starting to record again.
It's usually my fault.
It's absolutely 98% of the time now. But let's go downhill both ways, guys.
Brother, if you want to split our cash for a little fresh tar and fiberglass, shooting them horsepower with death and tax and gasoline. When I give you a promise just to prove it's a con, trying to be honest, I'm gonna get gone in bed with my running shoes on and chasing a bad dream down.
Perfect. So now Julien kind of comes in and gets to take kind of the forefront. This is kind of the first one. It really felt like it was very TORRES with Julien kind of backing. I felt like for a lot of the album. This one was one where Julien really kind of popped and like came through and with this really light kind of chippy string. With how clean Julien Baker's vocals are, the light chippy strings just works really well with it. This. Honestly, it was actually, I heard the strings first, and then I assumed it was Julien. That's what I had written down. I'm just like, I feel like this is going to be a Julien coded song as opposed to a TORRES because of how that opening with those strings come in. It was instantly reminiscent of like the Dixie Chicks to me.
Yeah. Oh,
listening to this, like it was almost. I was actually looking like to see if they had sampled anything from the Dixie Chicks because of how closely coded it was in my brain. It was I was really happy to see Julien kind of take center stage on this one. Pulling all of the instruments for the chorus was a really interesting play on it. I don't know if it was my favorite on it. I kind of would have liked to have kept some instrumentation going on throughout that part, but I did really like this little outro guitar solo on it. I do think the song layers really nicely to give it kind of a folksy vibe, which is obviously what Julien's more known for. This felt less country and a little bit more kind of folk in a lot of its essence, and knowing that it was Julien that was going to take the center stage on it kind of tracks, and I thought it worked well. Again, I didn't love the chorus play a little bit. Like that was one part that kind of pulled me out. I wish there was a little bit more instrumentation there, but otherwise it was a good track.
Yeah, that's more than fair. This is more folksy, I think, in general, because Julien Baker is featuring on it, and I think I like that more. This spoke to me a bit more in general than a lot of the songs we've heard already. I didn't write a whole lot of notes on this. I think I wrote down that she hopes she can escape into the night with someone was kind of the main point of the lyrics here. But solid entry for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was, again, really clever wordplay on her part, like with the little nods to her addiction, like the ballpoint pen and aluminum foil. Like, if you don't know what she's talking about, it's going to go over your head. But I also, so in our singles, we literally had 2 songs mentioning cigarettes, and I love how her reference to a cigarette is calling it fresh tar and fiberglass. Like, that's just so refreshing to me to, like, have a more creative spin on that. I was reading an interview after I listened to the album like 6 times because I really liked it. And I liked a lot how Julien had, like, her whole inspo for the song was like, did anyone's parents ever say that they had to walk to school uphill both ways? Well, this is downhill both ways. Like, and I just like that it was kind of a nod on, like, thanks to her addiction, like, going the easy way, going the hard way. No way. She's going downhill no matter what. She's just kind of, like, fucking, it just, no matter what she does, she's kind of just stuck. And I love a folk song. I loved it. This was, like, a top track for me.
Me? Not for me. But
Yeah, I
sure
loved
not
it.
for myself. But and then we get a little bit more southern kind of folk with these drum taps that come in on No Desert Flower, which let's listen.
When you cry, it's the saddest thing. Good thing I know. Desert flower, I can take more than a little rain. If the going's tough, I will not cower. No, the passing years won't wash me away. No, the passing years won't wash me away.
Yeah.
I actually didn't have a lot of notes on this one. I don't know. Something about this one just didn't vibe with me. I don't know if it's too slow. I don't know if just the lyrics not great for me on this one either. I couldn't explain to you why, but I just not feeling this one.
Yeah.
Personally.
Mel?
One of my favorite parts in this song is literally, like, the first verse, when TORRES sings, like, whom are you seeking? She gets so deep there, and it makes it, like, just, it was such a good start to it. Vocally, I loved them together. I thought they sounded really good. This was an interesting cadence switch up, so I understand why that might have maybe, like, taken you out of it. But I also liked how, like, it sounds so slow and sad, but it's kind of a hopeful song, which is, it was interesting to me. But I liked it.
Maybe I don't want hopeful music in my sad girl music.
You're in your sad boy era, Bob?
That's right.
I get it.
That's fair. Again, this was a lot more southern. It's got those drum taps and this really raw guitar opening on it that I appreciated. I really love the draw that TORRES does on that away and that Wash Me Away. I love it so much. I just it just makes me feel fuzzy in my ears.
Yeah, I liked her vocals on this one a lot.
And they added the instrumentation to the chorus back, which was the one thing that pulled me out of the last track. So, like, this one, I was like, thank you. I need that in there. Just kind of show, like, kind of both ends of the spectrum, kind of back to back with how they composed these tracks side by side on that. This one really felt like it was a lot more indie folk again than it was country in that kind of style, right? This felt very TORRES coded, being kind of an indie rocker from Florida, from the South, and having the influences of, southern country the influences of her indie rock style music and throwing it all together into this kind of a track. I thought it was a cool track. No, I didn't. I know it's a little bit of a change up from everything else, but I didn't really dislike it in this context. It's not my favorite at all, but like it's also, I can appreciate it. It was fine exactly where it was, so I'm cool with it.
I might have to give it another listen, but yeah, for now it's a skippable for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, no, it's not. You're wrong. But anyways,
I'm on Brandito's side with this one.
No.
I enjoyed it.
That's fair. That's fair.
then we go into what I think is kind of one of the more rock and roll type tracks on this with Tape Runs Out. Let's give it a little spin. There you have it. So like I said, this was, obviously it's not rock and roll. I need to make sure that I reiterate that just before somebody calls my music knowledge.
Music knowledge.
Yeah. But no, like obviously this was a lot more Taurus influence as well, with her being indie rock, kind of actually bringing in some heavier guitars, some more rock-ish riffs into this kind of country song. It's adding their own influences into the album, but they're doing it really tastefully. And that's again, my biggest issue with what's happened with so many other artists trying to do country is I want to do me doing country. I don't want to do country. This felt like they've done the country without their influence, and now they're kind of slowly introducing it to everybody. And I think that that's the right way to handle it. And I think that they do it really tastefully. And I'll always say good songwriting, good lyrics can always overcome a lot of the other issues that I think happen when you try to interject your style into a different genre. Because if you can write really beautifully, you can probably find a way to make it work. And I feel like they do that on this one.
Oh, yeah.
I did find the harmonies were a little bit conflicting at certain points on this one, but like not enough that it really pulled me out of the track at all. I like that it seems to like leave the fiddle and the instruments to carry the chorus with no lyrics at all. Like the fiddle just kind of actually is the chorus, it feels like, in a lot of sense, rather than them having a chorus, an actual lyrical chorus. And I thought that was a really cool touch on it, especially when I wasn't loving all of the harmonies on it, that, you know, actually taking away kind of any lyrical part and giving the chorus to the instrumentation, I thought was kind of cool. And then at the tail end of the song, the over-filtered guitars on everything, that was all Torres and showed some indie rock. I don't know if it was necessary. Wasn't my favorite part of the song. I thought it kind of distracted away from the message or what they were doing so well already throughout the track, that they went like, okay, now we're going to go all the way into the indie rock. And I'm just like, well, no, hold on. This is still a country album. You got it.
Yeah.
Let's rein it in a little bit here. Let's calm down just a wee bit. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I think it was a solid track, and they did a good job of, again, matching their own styles and actually integrating into country now in a sense that I think is working tastefully at this point.
Yeah, I didn't like this as much musically. I think you described a lot of things musically that I was going to say. That being said, like lyrically, I like this one a lot. It feels like it's a song. This is my interpretation of it. It feels like a song where they're basically spinning their wheels. She got really high last night. Doesn't remember anything. I love the "you bought low and figured you'd fix it up, and now you think there's nothing you can do" line. Like this relationship's going nowhere. I'm getting high to make them nights go by, and my mouth breathing on the sofa in the pitch dark while the creds scroll the TV in the den. That I could see that. That's very visual. Very like the lyrics are fantastic. I love this one in that regard.
I really enjoyed that this was like a very Taurus influenced song, but Julien still took the lead. I really enjoyed that balance a lot. This was actually one of my favorite tracks along with Dirt, that I would put this at a top for me. I loved the ooh at the end was so pretty for me. I loved the instrument, the guitar, opening guitar was great. You mentioned the fiddle, like that. I loved it. I loved the instruments on this one.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah. And then, well, speaking of getting high, then we get Off the Wagon.
Yeah.
Which, conventional country song. Hey, Bob?
Is it ever?
Let's listen.
You have not a thing else left to look forward to outside of hidden hope. Burning one after your shift at the restaurant, getting right to the show.
Yeah. I mean, I think I shit on something earlier for being too slow, but I feel like that works musically for this song. This is another great song, I think, with lyrically. I mean, it's pretty. Getting high is the only pleasure in life is basically the message here.
Yeah.
And that's pretty typical for sad white girl country music, but you know, yeah, I don't know. This one clicked for me. I don't know why. I don't know where, but yeah, I like this.
The lyricism on this one, I think, is fantastic. It is top notch. Like the whole album has some really great lyricism. Like it's clearly Torres and Julien Baker are just fantastic lyricists, and I think that's why it works so well with them trying to transition to a different genre, because lyrically you can bring a lot of things to the table and you can make a lot of things work if lyrically you are as good as they are, right? It's just the nature of it. Their harmonies come back properly here on the back half of the track that I really enjoyed, and I thought they did a good job there. This is very reminiscent of like 2000 style country. Again, talking to Alison Krauss, Dixie Chicks sort of a range on it that I think that it's a solid country track, and yeah, I was a fan.
Yeah, same. I don't have much, I don't have anything to say that I haven't really said on other songs, but my main note was just like, ugh, Julian's words cut deep, as always. She just really knows how to take a knife to the heart.
Harmonizing it. I do want to mention the harmonizing, I think, from here on out, I think is amazing throughout most of the rest of these songs.
For sure. I agree with you. That takes me into the one that I struggled with the most with Tuesday.
Wow.
But I struggled in a good way. First of all, it starts off with vocals right off the hop. It's one of the only tracks that actually has vocals right from the onset of the song, whereas everything else usually has a small introduction, kind of musical intro.
Yeah.
On that side of things. But let's play, and then I'll explain to you why I was having a weird time with this.
Now I wish that I hadn't stepped down in line when I acted like it was nothing to me. And if I could only go back in time, I'd rewrite our whole story.
So,
So,
I don't know if you guys hear it at all. It is the same chord progression and cadence and almost the same melodically as I Am the Highway by Audioslave. As the verses in I Am the Highway in Audioslave, and I can't unhear it.
Oh,
It's one of my favorite songs, but it is so there. And I even had to ask other people. I'm like, am I going crazy? Because I need to know if anybody else hears it. And it was my assistant that actually took a peek at it. My friend Dan, who ended up taking a look at it.
I feel like I need to hear the song in order to.
100%. It's so odd to me, and I don't think it's intentional at all, because there's enough difference that I don't think it was intended to be that. Either way, to not talk about Audioslave and talk about them, this is definitely more experimental instrumentally. It's they're trying something a little bit different with it. But again, like I couldn't get over the audio slave, and whether it was intentional or not, that might have pulled me into it. I ended up being a really big fan of this song, but that's why I think in a lot of cases, because it grabbed me and like hooked me. The rest of the song is still great, but that chorus and it being so close to that initial verse to me is just I couldn't unhear it. And again, it's one of my favorite songs. Eye on the Highway is I think beautiful. So like whether it's intentional or not, that might have been what grabbed me. So and Torres being an indie rocker, I feel like maybe she did pull influence from, like an Audio Slave, that kind of area, like it wouldn't make no sense,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm listening to it now. Yeah, I absolutely hear it now. I did not catch that at all, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you being the 90s alternative guy,
you would think I would
Slave is right up your alley.
Of
So,
course.
I literally don't think I probably know the song, but I can't picture it right, or I can't hear it right now because I don't think I know it well enough.
You'll know
I
it.
actually put like the cadence in this one was so interesting to me that it kept drawing me in. I loved how straightforward the storytelling was because it was just so brutally honest and like to the point, and I thought that was really important.
Yeah.
I thought this was such a classy way to like address like the betrayal and the shame and the self-harm aspects of what she went through.
Yeah.
And can we talk about the ending line? Because it was so funny. I loved it so much.
Tell your mama she can go suck an egg.
Suck an egg. Epic. Epic. Like, what a fucking funny, like, just way to twist that with... Because it was, like... I was kind of, like, sad listening to the story, but this is also one of the main songs that gave me that vibe that we're just, like, trauma dumping. We're just sitting around and, like, telling stories. But, yeah, the ending was so epic for me.
Yeah, I guess, the whole song was her talking about how she's just trying to heal from the guilt and shame of figuring out she was gay as a kid and having to deal with all the religious people in her life, that her girlfriends at the time's religious mom or whatever. And I was reading up on this. I guess this is a song she's been wanting to write for a long time and just now finally had the chutzpah to write it, I suppose is the best way to put it. But
I can only imagine like the closure she got from this to just get that out. It had to be so satisfying.
Yeah, for sure. But musically, I didn't like the song that much, but lyrically, I think it's super powerful. And
until you start hearing Audio Slave on it, now it's going to change everything.
Now, it's another re-listen. I'm going to have to re-listen to this whole album now, I think. But, that was good stuff. Good stuff.
And then we pop into what I think is probably the sleepiest song of the album throughout everything with Showdown, and we'll let the listeners make their own opinion, but we're right because we do this once every 2 weeks, and you guys just listen to us talk about it. So this is the sleepiest song on the album.
Everything I begged of you comes bouncing off the clouds. Now I just hear my own voice saying, help me twice as loud.
Very pretty. The harmonizing, I think, again, very, very strong.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot more for me on this one, but I liked it.
I liked the line that you picked out because I loved how she was able to sing about like her kind of questioning her faith, like the bouncing off the clouds. I thought that imagery was really, really nice. The song felt unfinished to me, but that also felt very intentional.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes to, like, who's taking the lead and, like, who's telling whose story, this, to me, felt like Julian's last story. And at the time when they were writing the lyrics, because she is struggling with that relapse and, like, forgiving herself, essentially, like, it makes me feel like she's still fighting her demons. So she's ending on, like, a very, like, hopeless song, almost. Like, it feels like she's kind of, like, almost given up here. But, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty.
Yeah. Like I said, I think this is the sleepiest one. It was the furthest away instrumentally so far. Like the instruments were very far away. It felt like in the track, but I did appreciate the strings do kind of come in to kind of give it a little bit of life. Like regardless, it's a pretty ballad country song. It's nice. It's some sad girls being sad girls, and it's not my top pick from the record, but it's fine. It was fine. Yeah.
Fine. Absolutely.
It's good. It was good.
Bob, did
Just
you have
good.
any notes specifically on this one?
Nope.
No. Sad girls being sad girls. Cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then now we get again kind of a little bit more of an indie rock kind of track with a lot of like folky vibes. This one again felt like one of the less country tracks on it with Sylvia. So let's hear what Sylvia has to say.
Sylvia, my baby, I have got to go away. In the morning when you rise, I'll be halfway down the highway. Neither of my two minds can decide if I'm at home on the road when I know the road ain't any kind of home. Sylvia, don't forget me. Sylvia, feel like I'm missing everything.
I love this song.
Me too.
It was a great track.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great
I love
track.
this one a lot.
That's why I wanted to start it at zeros too, because it's just like the
It's so
clip.
good.
It just
Yeah.
it opens up and you're just like, oh, this is like a complete change. It feels like a complete change up.
Yeah.
Like it's like okay, like this is just folk. This is just a folk song that starts to bring in some elements of country kind of at the very end of it, but like that's.
Yeah.
And then you get the heavier drums in there with like which gives it that kind of indie rock kind of feel to it. I liked it. They just kind of had a little bit of slide guitar to kind of keep it still country.
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of all it was. It feels like them both perfectly in their natural state is what I wrote down. Like Julien is clearly doing the indie folk style, and Torres gets a chance to really be an indie rocker, and they just meshed the two together and added a twang, to it, and we're fine with that. And I like this one a lot. It's got a bit more swing to it, some up-tempo kind of feeling, and I thought, Sylvia was a great track.
Yeah. Yeah. For the listeners, this is a song about her dog.
Yeah.
Sylvia is the dog, and basically how she misses her dog when she's gone, and I love that. I love a good song that
A
appreciates
love
your
song
dog.
to my dog.
Yeah.
I'm always here for.
Every time your cheek goes unkissed, a day for me is. I'm sorry, haunted by all the good nights I've missed. Every time your cheek goes unkissed, I
I love a day for me is a week for you. Because like when I heard that, I was just like,
Yeah.
is she talking about a dog?
Yeah.
Oh, she's talking about a dog. I loved it. I want to sing this to May all the time.
Aw, yeah.
Maxie too, but May's more up my butt. She's my little angel girl.
You can't miss her. She's right there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good song. Good track.
Yeah, it was a good track. And then, hey Bob, do you know what the difference between jelly and jam is?
Oh, I can't jelly my dick in your ass.
You're gonna.
It's more viscous.
It's. In case you guys at home are wondering, that is the opening line to the final track on this this record.
Not the part I said.
So good.
Yeah, what Bob said is not
was so
on
good.
there. That's not there whatsoever. That was
That was the punchline they were telling in backstage.
Yeah.
correct, 100%. Goodbye, baby. Kind of a closeout album or a closeout track for everything. Let's
For sure.
let's give it a little listen.
Goodbye, baby. Goodbye, baby. She leaves me every morning with kisses on my cheek. Since the day I met her, I've been fearful that she'd leave. But these days I've been so much lighter on my feet. For the first time in years, through the night I can sleep. Just remembering that she's coming home to me. She'll be coming back home to me. Goodbye, baby. She didn't skip a beat, but the world didn't stop turning either.
This is another like campy track,
Yeah.
but I enjoy this one so much more than the other
Same.
one. Yeah,
Well, because it really feels like it's taking the piss out of
yeah,
it itself. You know what I mean? To open up with the joke, with the jelly and jam joke, like right away. The fact that there's no chorus, there's no musical breaks, it's just constant momentum kind of the whole way through to the very end on it. It's it feels like a closeout track. They're just like, hey, cool, we just talked about all of these things, now let's have a quick little laugh about it.
Yeah.
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 You know? I think
Yeah, it's
that's-
like you kind of had to leave it on a high note because they really they really dumped some shit on us.
Really did. Yeah,
100%.
I love the overall message. She's basically just feeling peace because of having a love that actually comes back and doesn't leave her forever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
which is, that's traumatic, but also like there's comfort in that, and I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that that are listening to this album. So
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how Taurus is basically, Taurus got her happy ending here.
Yeah.
Julian technically did too because she's with Lucy now,
Yeah.
but like I think at the time when they made the album, Julian wasn't in that headspace, but Taurus very much was, and I'm glad that we ended on this note.
Yeah.
yeah, nice.
But yeah, that's the album. In some in conclusion notes, let's start off with Mel.
Okay, yeah. I love that they took their turns like backing each other up while each other was telling their story. Thought that was really, really well done. I adored the vocals like pretty much entirely. I love Taurus's huskiness. Like I said, the lyricism is everything I hoped for from Julian and like more. And it literally had me diving more into Taurus because I'm like obsessed with her now too. I was very pleasantly surprised by this. I wasn't sure if I was going to love it. Ended up loving it. Yeah. Big fan.
Nice.
What would you rate it?
I gave it an 8.3. Still not my favorite, but I like loved it. I will revisit it a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is definitely some sad gay white woman music. I mean, that's there's no other way to put it. It was absolutely that. It's not changing my mind about the country genre in general for me personally. I do recognize that the lyrics are some of the best I've probably ever heard in country. Honestly, I don't want to put them too much on a pedestal, but yeah, lyricism amazing. They're often thoughtful. The melodies are nice. The harmonizing, singing is impressive in a lot of the album. It just all feels very genuine. Like I don't think they made a country album to like try to jump in with all the other popular people. Like, hey, we need to make a country album because that's what's popular now. Like,
Yeah.
this feels genuine. It feels like it's real. It has heart and emotion in it, and trauma dumping, it's a lot of it's very relatable, even for a not so sad white boy like me. It's all very relatable. So, yeah, for a genre I would normally avoid like the plague, I enjoyed myself way more than I expected listening to this, especially on a second or third listen. There's still a couple of tracks that I will absolutely not listen to again. They'll skip them, but there's a lot that really felt good to listen to, and I enjoyed them. I appreciate what was done here. I actually gave this an 8.4 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. There you
I
go.
was more critical than
I-
Bob
I-
on this.
I-
I was trying not to let my emotions take me.
I
away here.
overcame my I didn't want to vote it rate it unfairly because not liking country. It's a good album.
Bob, I don't know how to tell you how wrong you are, but and I'll explain
Brandito
here
also gave it an 8.4.
in just a second.
Yeah.
All in all, like this album was it was a pleasant surprise for me for the fact that Sugar in the Tank I thought this was going to be another star in one genre goes country album. I actually think that Torres and Baker came together and like really, really well on this album and made something work. It's not perfect. There's some harmonies that are a bit of a stretch, and they kind of stretch themselves a little bit too far, and some compositions that are just kind of sleepy or unenthusiastic, in my opinion. But like those get held up really well by some really wonderful songwriting that kept me drawn in kind of the whole way through it. All in all, I think the ladies actually pulled something off that I usually have a tough time getting behind with, crossing over into country. Mm-hmm. But I can say I'm a fan of, like, they did it really gracefully, and they took a lot of influences from the saddest girls in country so they could stay really true to character without necessarily staying true to style. Right? And I think that was important, talking about the Dixie Chicks and those types of artists that clearly influenced this album. use them as your firepower to try to build influence and try to do it. Don't use your previous stuff and try to influence country. Take the country that has your kind of aesthetic and style around that. And I think they did that really well. I'd be happy to listen to this again. I think it could be a way too early front runner for country album of the year, in my opinion. And like honestly, I think it should be a shoo-in for alternative country album of the year. Like, you're not going to get much more alternative than an indie rock and an indie folk star in doing a country album. So why you're wrong, Bob, is because I gave it an 8.3 along with Mel.
Wow.
So your 8.4 is absolutely
Ridiculous.
way too high
Yeah.
on this.
I'm really glazing them for sure. Wow.
Yeah.
We're all on the
I
same
loved
page.
it. I thought they really respected the genre. It was great.
Yeah, I thought they did. I thought they did a fantastic job. But
Very
but yeah,
pleasantly
so
surprised.
that is a little pardon me. Send a Prayer My Way by Julien Baker and TORRES. But you guys let us know what you guys' thoughts were. Hit us
If
up in the
it's not an
comments.
8,
Are we
we are
wrong?
wrong.
We probably are.
There's
But
no way. There's
we
no
were
way.
usually wrong in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. But otherwise, I appreciate you guys giving it a little spin, giving it a little listen, or however you're viewing whatever this is. Appreciate you doing it. So yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. And we will catch you soon.
See you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
3, 2, 1.